Can we get some fries for the table?
Thank you for the meal. That was really nice of you.
You're welcome.
To cook up a storm.
All that pizza.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was great.
Pizza Nova.
So you are a Ewan McGregor fan.
That's how you're going into it?
Yeah. Right? Is that what I heard?
Ewan McGregor is a beautiful, beautiful man. He makes me nervous. I can't look at him for too long. I'm blushing. Well, I declare. Yeah, it's mighty woman here. Yeah. That Ewan McGregor is a beautiful, beautiful
So you
man.
would like to have a hockey fight with Ewan McGregor?
I don't know. I don't know what would happen in that fight with Ewan McGregor.
I think we both know
I think that's true. Yeah.
what would happen.
He's a very handsome man.
So Ewan McGregor is a dick. Okay.
What?
He is a
No.
full-fledged, surrounds himself with his cronies. And I was at a party once.
Yeah.
And he felt a little bit crowded at the party. I could tell. His boys were around him and et cetera, et cetera. And I have kids, right?
Were they with you at this party again?
No.
Is this another one of my kids met Ewan McGregor?
No.
Oh.
I went and I started talking to him, explaining to him my kids are fans, Star Wars, stuff like that.
Okay.
Wanted nothing to do with the conversation. Looked at his boys the whole time. And then his boy turned his back to me to get me out of the conversation. And I was like, whoa, that's weird. That has never happened to me. And then when I turned around, I ran into Taylor Swift
Wow.
because she was coming up the stairs looking for the bathroom. And then she goes, what's happening up here? And I was like, just dead-faced from being rejected by your boyfriend. And I was like, nothing. The bathrooms are over there. And she goes, what's this? And I pointed to a photo booth. So one of the things people don't realize is Soho House doesn't, or they used to have a no picture policy when it came down to being there. So a lot of celebrities.
They still have that policy. It's a worldwide policy. Yeah.
Well, that's funny because I have a picture of the one I sent you. Anyway, I have a picture of Melly Mel from Soho House.
Was that our event?
Yeah.
It was our event though. Was that
I don't
ours?
know.
Or was it,
I don't remember.
you met Ewan McGregor?
Yes. So basically, no pictures. But what Soho House does is they have a very fun photo booth, and many celebrities have pictures in that photo booth. So Taylor Swift asked about the photo booth, blah, blah, blah. It's on your left, whatever. And sarcastically, I was like, but you don't have any Canadian money, so I don't know what you're going to do. And I just left. And she kind of shrugged her shoulders, and we looked at each other, and I walked away because I was extremely rejected by Ewan McGregor, and I felt embarrassed by it, and I had nothing to say to Taylor Swift. Little did I realize that Taylor moment would have meant so much more to me if I just followed her into the photo booth.
Why didn't you give her money?
It didn't need money.
Oh, you were being funny. Well, she didn't see it either. Oh, that's a shame. But I think, Ewan McGregor in Star Wars, I think most people in Star Wars actually do not like to talk about the fact that they were in Star Wars.
I don't even think I started about
Star Wars nerds are such nerds. They're quite nerdy when it comes to Star Wars and Star Trek as well. So I can see how actors from those worlds would kind of like, yeah. Like if you had gone to something like Train Spotting or any of the rest of his body of work, not that I'm thinking about his body, I'm thinking about his work.
He was there for August Osage County or Sausage County.
Oh, yeah. Did you watch that movie?
Does it look like I watched that movie?
I don't know with you in the movies.
That's
Remember,
true.
we got a whole thing of
Yeah.
Muhammad's movies.
I did.
Muhammad
I
doesn't
did
talk
see
about movies. Yeah.
I did see August Osage County, and it was August Osage long.
Yeah, it didn't look.
That was the
particularly
party he
interesting.
was there for.
Yeah,
that movie was, and that was the party Taylor Swift was there for. But Taylor isn't in the movie. But because she wasn't the biggest star, she was just kind of on her own. No one was bugging her. Come to think of it, I don't even know if she was 19. She must have been, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, at the time.
So you didn't talk to Ewan McGregor about the movie that he was in? You talked about Star Wars.
It had just premiered at the festival.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I could see what you're saying there.
Yeah.
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 Or he's not into whatever. He's a dick.
No,
you know who's
he's a
really
cool
nice
guy.
is Jude Law. And I get them mixed up all the time.
I saw him at an airport in Costa Rica, of all things.
Nice guy?
He's very fit. It's a very uncomfortable series of conversations we're having right now.
What?
No.
About all the guys? That
Yeah, no, Jude Law, but he was very fit, I noticed. He's a very handsome man as well, but he's no Ewan McGregor, but then who is? So
who is the fittest? Who is the fittest brown actor in Hollywood?
Fittest
Like,
brown
who's the-
actor. Like, you know, the English, when they say somebody's fit, oh yeah, they're fit. That means like they're like hot.
Like shaggable.
Yeah.
Right. Who is like the most marketable? Like Hassan, is it?
But not as an actor. He hasn't made his bones as an actor. He's known as he's more of a personality. He's become a personality now. Nice guy.
Yeah.
Nice guy. Good hair. Yeah.
You like the hair?
I do like his hair. Sorry, man.
I don't
but,
think that was a dig. I don't think that was a dig at all. What I love about the internet is that I get to explore a lot more than I would normally explore if I was just, when you guys would do Nubian night and stuff like that, you get like buffets of comics and comedians. And that's kind of where the only place that you could get to see comedians. What I'm seeing comedians now doing is they're letting their stuff breathe online a little bit more rather than wait for a special to be dropped. And the reason I'm saying that is because for the longest time, I didn't believe that there was a strong ethnic comedy scene for each niche. Like, I didn't think there was a strong Filipino one and a strong Jamaican one, an Indian one, et cetera, et cetera. And on social media, I've started to realize every different group has their comedy core now, like the group of people that write for their culture, write purposely to perform for those types of groups, really don't have a deep desire to cross over into Ronnie Chang world or anything like that. And I just find that fascinating. Because there was a time period where everybody would keep their material, right? And not want it online.
Yeah, but I mean, that is the new model now. Everyone's just dumping their stuff out there, which makes sense because that's just how the world is right now. And those opportunities to get their material out before, it wasn't there other than YouTube, right? Or if you wanted to put clips on Facebook or something like that.
But that's your joke. Like, that's what people are going to pay for. So why would you be so willing to... Like, if I know your one or two jokes that are flying around the internet...
Right. Would you not then perhaps want to pay and see them do more? Right. And it's just a way of creating awareness.
Yeah. It's just marketing.
It's marketing. Yeah. That's all it is.
And
there's nothing wrong with it.
With comedy in particular, I've always found like, well, your material is all you have, right?
It's true. That is the only intellectual property that you have and you can protect it. It also depends on where you're at. We protect the intellectual property of my brother very aggressively.
Right.
And the only stuff that we release on socials is the audience stuff, the audience interaction stuff.
Yeah.
Which he gets quite criticized for a lot.
For releasing it?
Yeah. Well, and also then people just perceive, he just talks to the audience. That's sort of the big sort of one of the criticisms, if you will, against him.
What?
He doesn't have material. He just talks to the audience. So when you release audience interaction and freestyle stuff, then it just sort of perpetuates that idea that that's all he does. But at the same time, we're not prepared to give up the actual meat of the act on social media.
Right.
And we also don't need to do that. Like, if you're going to release a special at the stage where he's at. But for a lot of younger people, that's just the way to do it. How else are you going to create awareness of who you are?
Okay. So then what's the philosophy around locking the phone up at a comedy show?
Because you don't want people putting the show out onto YouTube and just publishing it out there. But it's not theirs to do. They don't own it.
So you're saying it's a control.
And it's about control, and comedy is the element of surprise. So if people have seen your whole act, if somebody releases the entire set on YouTube or something like that, are people necessarily going to pay to come see it when you come to their town or whatever? Right?
But okay. So let me
You're
ask,
talking about an entire set.
yeah,
right?
of course.
And
Yeah,
people, it's not theirs to release. If the artist decides to release it, that's on the artist.
yeah.
But it's not up to the public to say, oh, you know what? I like this joke. I'm going to go put it up on the web.
I think you guys were one of the first that I saw taking phones.
Yeah. We don't take phones.
Locking phones.
We don't lock phones.
Stealing them.
We don't do any of that. We do not take phones.
So
no, we've never taken phones.
Just for reference, if you go to a stand-up comedy show that is bigger than 1,000 people in audience, it is more than likely that comedians will ask you to put your phone away or in a secure environment.
Yes.
You are of the ilk that would do that.
We've never taken people's phones. We have signage, we have videos, we have all kinds of things telling people that there's no audio video recording allowed. And it used to be printed on the tickets, but I think some of the ticketing people have gotten away from that. And we were very, very aggressive about it. So we used laser pointers and flashlights and things like that to notify people to put their phones away. Other comedians, bigger comedians, shall we say, the Chappelles, the Rock, some of those guys, they use the service where they take your phone, they put it in the sort of magnetized Ziploc kind of bag.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I don't know if you take it into the venue with you.
Yes.
But then you have to get it unlocked on the way out.
Yes, exactly.
Which is fine. We looked at that business model once, and the cost was horrific. Absolutely ridiculous cost to do that.
Watching the parents panic alone make me.
And I understand parental panic, and we've told people, they're like, "Oh, I've got my babysitter." I said, if you could just, take your phone, go out to the lobby,
and tell your babysitter you're not
you can
be
text, right, and do whatever you need to do. I understand that. Like we're understanding like that, but if people are just filming and they're dicks about it, then they'll get tossed.
Yeah.
Recently, we had a situation in New York where the guy had been told not to record, and he kept on going, and he kept on going. Then one of our guys came over to him, and he got so shit scared, he actually deleted his entire photo album. And my guy was like, I didn't tell you to do that. I just wanted you to delete the videos that you took. He got so scared, he deleted every picture in his photo album.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know if he had a cloud backup or not, but like I started sweating because I wasn't at the show. I actually started sweating when they told me what happened. I was like, oh my God, that was like my worst nightmare. I have like 90,000 pictures on my phone. And that would just completely freak me out. But I was like completely shocked by that story. But so we aggressively make sure that people are not filming.
Have you had to take anyone's phone?
We've taken their phone and deleted the files. Yeah.
That's weird.
Is it?
Yeah, it's just weird to somebody like me who understands that that's sort of part of the management process, right? You don't hear a lot about things like that happening. And to be honest with you, you want everyone's positive experience to remain
That's
positive.
a really, really critical thing with us. We want everyone to have a positive experience and have a good night and enjoy themselves. But there's a little bit of a social contract there. Okay. Mm-hmm. Listen, he's going to go up. He's going to do his best up there. You're going to be here. You're going to enjoy the show. But the one thing we're asking you to do, please don't film the show. Don't record it. Okay. Right. Some people sneak a few pictures. Okay, fine. Take your camera, take your pictures, put it away, and enjoy the show. Okay. Yeah. And then people, some people get really pissy. Well, I paid my price. I paid my ticket. And we've tossed those people completely.
Huh.
Yeah. And we will go through the phone and delete the files. But that's the only IP we have. That's all that we've got in terms of a product, right? So we can't have people just randomly putting stuff out there. And because My Brother's Success came from YouTube originally, at least this next level of success that we've enjoyed for the last 18 years, initially there was people had a thought process of like, yeah, well, I'll put it on YouTube. I'm helping you, right? I'm part of, I'm down with you guys. Like we're in this together. And it's like, no, we're not. We're in this together and you're in that together, and the two shall not meet.
Do you know that there was a time period where people thought that I was the one who uploaded your special?
I did not know that.
Yeah. And the reason was because...
You're a tech guy?
No, is because I had some stuff on YouTube illegally as well.
That you had recorded?
It was from shows that I
Of My Brothers?
No.
Oh.
No. Of me, right?
Oh, you did stand-up, right?
I did stand-up, but I also was reporting at the time, and I was looking to do a demo and get into the business and stuff like that. And I knew that YouTube would be handy to be able to keep all of that together. It wasn't stuff I owned, right? You remember TV shows and TV stations back then, they didn't want their stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so when that popped off and kids started to realize that it was on there, etc., I had people ask me, are you the one that put it on? Because there was a mystery about how it got on.
Yeah, we still don't know who it was.
Yeah. Anyway, so I've had people like throughout my career ask me if I was the one who uploaded Russell's thing on. Because remember, over the years, then I had interviewed him, right? And so it looked like there was like a friendship, et cetera, et cetera. So it would have made sense to people that this dude's stuff is on YouTube. And plus, he's interviewed him and his interview of him is on YouTube, blah, blah, blah. So, but anyway, I didn't do it.
We didn't do it. We weren't savvy enough to do it.
I don't know how, yeah, I wouldn't have known.
I really don't know who did it. Yeah. And then that was also at the time where people were able to sort of chop it up and then send the clips around the world. And we just benefited completely from convergence.
Right.
At
that time, yeah.
YouTube, Google, iPhone, video files, audio files, being able to send them. The Wi-Fi became wider, more widely available. because even at that time we were still plugging the phone into the phone cable, or we were still plugging the laptop into the phone cable.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's really how we came to be, just through that convergence of all of those things happening around 2004, 5, and 6.
Right.
And that was it.
That's funny too, because that's sort of the Drake years too, the Weekend years.
Is it?
Yeah. As they started to pop off internationally. Yeah, very much so. Just after Bieber time. Those were very big. I was working in media at the time, right? So I remember very much about those times and watching. A lot of the headlines were about Canadians making international news, right? And Canadian pop stars being at the top of their game. And I don't know where we were going. We were going somewhere before we went on to...
You just wanted to talk about Ewan McGregor.
Yeah. And your man fight crush, your man crush fight.
My hockey fight with Ewan McGregor.
Yeah. So what is the difference now with the people that open? Like, is the idea now that you have to bring somebody that's totally different for an audience in order to balance out the show?
No, it's nowhere. There's no great thought process involved like that. It's just whoever he feels like bringing. But we have to look at them. We do have to be more careful with that, because we made a few mistakes along the way of bringing the wrong act for the wrong country in terms of their ability to
convert.
No, their ability to translate.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right. Because if you're too wordy and too clever in some cases, no offense to some of these countries, but if you're too clever and too wordy, and it works great in the States or works with a really smart audience who is thinking in English, then you're fine. But a lot of these countries, even though they all speak English and they may conduct their business in English, and they do a lot with English, they watch, what they call Western movie Hollywood, and they listen to hip hop and all that kind of thing. There still can be a little bit of a disconnect, because some of them are still not thinking all the time in English. They're thinking in whether it's Arabic or Finnish or Swedish or whatever it may be, or Dutch. So in some shows you will see that it takes a few minutes for them to kind of flip their brains, like in The Hunt for Red October, where they're all speaking in Russian and then the camera goes in and then it starts speaking English when they pan back out again. And I think that's how their brains are working too, because it takes them a second to start getting into that wavelength. I knew somebody once who went out with this guy from Spain, and she said that he loved black movies. Like he loved like the Rush Hour movies and anything with Chris Tucker, and he loved like all the like Friday and all the hip hop movies and all the Juice, all that kind of stuff. But he'd have to watch him with the subtitles on, even though he spoke English, because a lot of stuff was getting lost on him, especially in the street vernacular and things like that. The only way he could really appreciate it was by watching it with the subtitles, even though he could speak English perfectly, and he loved those movies. That's
happening now, right? That this generation is watching more and more TV with subtitles on.
I watch every single show with subtitles.
Oh, yeah.
That's single show that I watch with subtitles. If you just saw my son upstairs, he's watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. We got the subtitles on.
What is
closed captioning?
When did this happen?
Every single thing.
Why is everybody doing this now?
Actually, a lot of programming now, they mumble. Even if you watch Game of Thrones or you watch a lot of that programming, there's a lot of actors who employ the mumble school, right? And you actually miss a lot of things. And because we watch it now, we consume it in such a kind of a lazy, passive way at home, right? So we're either lying in bed, or we've got our phone out, or we've got our iPad out, or we've got our laptop.
Yeah, but if you have your phone out,
multitasking, right? But then if you miss something, you kind of glance up, or you'll hit the rewind button, right? And you'll catch it on the subtitle. And a lot of times when we're watching something, my wife's like, "What did he say?" And I'm like, "He said this," because she'd either fallen asleep, which she tends to do, but we watch every single thing with subtitles on.
Do you know, for the longest time, people would say they would not watch international movies because they didn't want to read. Mm-hmm. And now you're telling me, and not just telling me, I've seen it firsthand. Everyone has closed captioning on while you're watching shows. I used to at first think that it was just on airplanes, one of those things, right? And no, now my kids do it all the time. It drives my wife and I nuts.
Really?
Yeah, because we don't watch TV that way.
Yeah, that's how I've completely gone
That's
over to the dark
crazy.
side on it.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, I always liked foreign films, so I was okay with it too.
So you are going back on tour,
I am.
and you're going to Africa, India. Where haven't you visited the least? Like, where's the first time you're going to visit? What's a first time stop?
On this tour? Nowhere. Everywhere that we're going, I've been to before.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
So none of it.
Doha, Kuwait, Riyadh. Where else are we going? Oh, Muscat, Cape Town, Joburg, Durban, Bombay, Bangalore, Delhi. And we're going back to Calcutta for the first time I think we're going back to Calcutta anyway, for the first time in at least 12 to 18 years or 16 years. We went to Calcutta in the early days when we first went to India. We never went back again to do a show.
Yeah, I think you'd mentioned that before.
Yeah, the show was shit. Yeah.
Local comics though along the way, or are you
No, we're bringing our own openers with us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's tricky with the local openers. We did a thing in Europe where we did a contest for local openers and stuff like that, and that was budget related as well. But a lot of them were really good. A lot of them, some of them didn't translate, but most of them were quite good. But in India, where it's still a relatively new art form, it's been around for a while. There are people who do it very well and aggressively, and who do it internationally as well. But, if we're looking for local openers, they're not going to be at that same level. And so we've had guys kind of crash and burn on us on that front in a number of countries. We've had where we brought a local guy on who was like a big deal locally, where the level of sophistication at the comedy club level was just maybe not what we needed for, 3, 4, 5,000 people.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of them, and in some cases, not a lot of them, but in some cases, some of them froze up. Right. Or it just didn't go well. And then the problem with that is it creates a vacuum, right? You've got to fill this vacuum now. So when Russell comes out, it's like he's got to bring everybody back in. Their job is to get everybody focused, get their brains working in a comedic way and get ready to laugh and relax and get ready for him. And so we want them to be the best possible version of themselves. There are stories of comics who tell their openers, okay, don't overdo it out there. Okay. Don't bring your A game, bring your C game or whatever like that. We do the opposite. We want them to bring their A game. We actually, as he says, he goes, I want them to make me work harder when I get up there, right? Not to fill a vacuum, but because they were so good that they've elevated the quality of the show. So that's the risk you take with local openers in countries where it doesn't have that long history of, comedy.
Yeah, I saw a friend of mine just emceed an evening with Seinfeld, and was being very careful about how he was positioning himself and respectful and all of that stuff. And at the end, you see he's on stage, and he usually doesn't do that, right? He's end of the joke and he's done and he's gone. He's not coming out for a bow or anything like that.
You're talking about Seinfeld?
Yeah, about Seinfeld. But in this, there is one shot of the 5 comics on stage, and I think
he does a curtain call.
Oh,
I think he does. I think he does do a curtain call with his opener. But I'm not 100%. I've only seen him perform. I've seen him perform twice. And it's a very structured show. He's a very, very meticulous comic.
You won't see a lot of crowd material.
No, there's none.
You know what's interesting is that what I don't like that I'm seeing online right now is a lot of the comics that want to show how they handle hecklers. And it almost seems like, why is it convenient that there's a camera rolling every time? Well,
they're recording their whole set. At the comedy clubs, most of the comics are wired into the main soundboard, and they're running their own camera, and they are sometimes running 2 cameras. If you look, some of them have like multiple camera angles on their material that they're putting out. They've got an audience cam, they've got the side cam.
Right, but like you just said, some people think it's a little cheap to do the crowd work stuff, blah blah blah. But then now I'm seeing that people are only wanting to show what they can do in improv situations.
Well, you're perceiving it that way, that's only what they want to show. They're probably also just showing, they're protecting their material.
Do you hate that I'm drinking coffee during this?
No, not at all.
Chris?
No, doesn't bother me at all. No, it's good. Well, that he's not going to like. Big slurpy Indian lips all over the mug.
Some good French fry coffee. Anyway, speaking of French fry coffee, yeah, I find that part is another part of all of this, like that. Bull, is it Bull Burnham?
Bo Burnham.
Bo Burnham. Like it makes me feel like all of it's contrived. You know what I mean? Like
No, I think it's just they're just putting. This is what they want to put out there, right? Instead, I'm not going to give them my material. I'm just going to show them some crowd work, and if they like me, they'll find me and they'll get on board. I'm not quite so cynical about it.
No.
No.
What are you cynical about? Did you like this Oppenheimer Barbie movie? What did you see anything?
Oh, now you want to talk about movies. Look who's here.
No,
Got
I
a
don't
bone to
actually.
pick with you.
I don't want to talk about movies though.
Yeah, why is that? When I asked you a couple of episodes ago about your favorite movie and you weren't able to expand on it. Yeah.
Articulate.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want
I still don't understand that.
I don't have a deep desire to talk about movies with people. I think it's
But that's part of your MO.
You know-
It's part of your MO.
yeah. So let me
right?
tell
'Cause
you,
you are Muhammad's movies, right? And so
it's Mohit's movies. But listen,
yeah.
it
And
doesn't
so
matter.
it's odd that you wouldn't talk about movies when this is your moniker.
The New York Times last
Mm-hmm.
week published a wonderful article about this very topic. And that is the fact that there is more emphasis now on the way people share information about a movie than it is about the critique of a movie. And they're almost implying that there's this death to the film critic. So, for example, the article talks about how famous TikTokers are for their views on movies, but don't call them film critics. That's something that I acknowledged 7 years ago in my blog, where I was just like, nobody wants me to continue to slice and dice movies like this. So I have to figure out another way to do this. The unfortunate part about it is I was watching hundreds of movies a year.
Yes, but surely over the course of your
Pardon me.
childhood into adulthood, there's certain movies that have stuck with you.
Of course.
Yeah.
Omen. Omen was
Really?
Yeah, I love the Omen movies.
You like horror movies?
No, I hate horror movies.
Did you like The Omen?
I
Or are you
love
just
Cloak
being...
and Dagger. That was a great movie when I was a kid. Do you remember Cloak and Dagger?
No.
Oh, it was a great movie. It was with Elliot from E.T.
Mhm.
What was Elliot's real name?
I don't know.
Is he still alive?
Are you drunk?
No.
Is that coffee? What did you... What's...
I don't
what the
want
fuck
to talk
happened?
about movies. It doesn't make sense.
It does make
You should
sense
listen to my
because you got a
movie
whole
podcast.
shtick. Yeah, you've got a whole shtick about movies, and I'm not sure why you won't talk about them. Are you saving it for your other podcasts? Is that what it is?
I just
Are you
don't.
hoarding? Are you not in the moment right now that you can't talk about it?
I don't have a passion right now for movies that is required of me.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Haven't seen it in 25
You
years.
have the poster up in your
I think I have
in
Temple
your
of
in
Doom.
your Zoom room there at home where you do your
Zoom decor.
where you do your talking head stuff. For
Do you ever
the
think about that?
CP24.
Do you ever think about
Yeah.
how much of that is going to look retro? Like those Zoom decor meetings and
Yeah, it's all going to be it's all going to be
seem
date
weird.
stamped.
Yeah.
All of that's going to be date stamped.
I've been told recently that I can't do remotes anymore when it comes down to my interviews.
I don't understand. What do you mean?
They don't want me doing like, "Hi, welcome to my basement."
They want you in studio?
Yeah, they want me in studio. I was
That
in
makes more
studio
sense.
recently, yeah. I went back to a studio I worked at for
You
10
still
years.
haven't addressed the movie thing. You've
Yeah,
changed it.
it was
completely.
good. Thanks. It was tough to
You
to
can't
go
call
back
yourself
after
Mohit's Movies
that.
anymore.
Well, I mean, it's a Twitter handle. That's like saying you can't call yourself CP24 or whatever you call yourself on Clayton Peters 24 on.
Clayton Peters 64. It's
64,
my name
24.
and my year of birth.
Yeah. So
Pretty straightforward.
yeah.
And
so
I'll talk about it.
basically, the more we talk over each other, the easier
Mm-hmm.
it is to edit. I don't know if you know that. That's how audio works. So you can continue to talk about whatever you want, and you could just turn one mic down. I can do a
Yeah,
full
I know which
monologue.
mic I turned down right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you meet your wife?
Tinder?
Seriously?
No.
Are you
Tinder
doing
wasn't
that thing
around
again?
when we were dating. My wife and I met at work. We both graduated and we were recruited at the same place of work, which was an American consulting company.
Mm-hmm.
She arrived a year later. I was there a year prior. And
Sounds like make it sound like she's a mail order bride. She arrived a year later.
she did arrive a
Mm-hmm.
year later and almost a little bit. It's funny. It's kind of a technical arranged marriage. We were sat across from each other for a year and stared at each other while.
Were you taken by her immediately?
No,
No.
she knows that.
Wow. She's nothing for you?
Well, I married my best friend eventually, and so I didn't have to.
Does your wife know about this?
She is my
Hello,
wife.
Chico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like nothing about it had to be some sort of romantic connection. We really clicked as two people
Mm-hmm.
for the longest time first, and
Mhm.
then decided to start dating, and then had 3 kids, and then yeah.
How long have you been married?
2024 will be 20 years.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time.
That's
It is.
wild.
It is. Yeah. All of it. Everything you say is true. Like, I mean, difficult, yes. Fun, yes.
Did you live together before you're married?
No.
No.
Well, that was God striking me down. Um, technically, there was a house.
Okay.
Somebody paid rent for it.
Okay.
Another would come by
And hang out.
and hang out.
Okay. And were your parents okay with the interracial mixed marriage?
My parents my parents played the part each phase of the way.
What do you mean?
They, tried to talk me out of it if I wasn't serious.
Because she was.
It wasn't just because she wasn't Indian,
Mm-hmm.
but it was more so is this what you want to do now? And is this the person you want to do it with? Because
So that she could have been Indian as well, and they
She
would
could
have
have
that same
been.
conversation.
yeah, because we had conversations in the past about different people, right?
Have
So
you gone out with an Indian girl before?
I have, yeah.
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 Interesting.
I mean, nothing about any of that part of my life shapes who I am now. And so it's weird because even when I talk about parenthood and I talk about other parents that I've interviewed and talked to and done series work with and stuff, I never go back to a time period prior to my wife as being a defining, like I defined so much, even for my career. My media career really started after marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have much of a media sort of even luck prior to meeting her. And so all of that time period, that sort of in between university and whatever period before I got married, none of it seems like a foundation. None of it built like something that I missed out on or I really tried something at. I knew those were loafing years
Mm-hmm.
and they really had no impact on me. So the reason I'm saying that is because my parents didn't interfere in my life as if there was anything detrimental happening because I was just coasting along. It wasn't until I went to them with what I wanted to do that they started to become more involved with, okay, well, you want to marry, this is how it's going to happen, et cetera, et cetera. So I didn't live the life a lot of Indian kids live, which is the constant, when are you getting married? Who are you dating? Is she Indian? Et cetera, et cetera.
What about your brothers, your siblings?
My eldest brother is married to an Indian girl from India. Yeah. And,
wow.
And my,
Kept it real.
my middle brother is married to an Indian girl from here.
Were they arranged?
No.
No? Love match.
Yeah.
That's what they call it when they're not arranged. Love
But
match.
again, like
Love match.
really it's so funny that even in talking about these things on this podcast, there's no real, from an interracial marriage perspective, there's no playbook on how to do it and how not to do it. There's no playbook on how parents are going to react because it's all going to be based on however they were treated or what their perception is of how other people's perception will be. There's no playbook on how to raise your children because you have no idea if COVID is going to be around or if other things are going to negate whether you can raise your kids differently or not. And the last part, and I think this is even like probably the most, is that they're not going to a school where they're the only ones that are part of an interracial or different scenario. They're in a playground where there's same-sex parents, there's interracial
You're talking about your parents?
I'm talking about our kids.
Oh, I thought we were talking about your parents.
Why would you think I'm talking about
I don't know, that whole diatribe I thought was about your parents.
No, I'm talking about parenting.
I missed that.
That's okay. Anyway, all I'm saying to you is that none of the idea of the lead up to my marriage or relationships I've had in the past, none of them shape what I've done in my career, how I am now, or how I react to things. I have a very, a lot of people will carry shitty relationships into the way things shape them in life. You know what I mean? Or you said it yourself. Somebody's bad trip on a drug will make you never want to touch a drug in the first place, right? I was never like that. I'm I'm glad. Like, even with the parent thing and the interracial thing, whatever situation we needed to resolve, we resolved it. We didn't let it.
Like, if you have, like, I know with my wife, like, if we have a conflict, it's not because I'm Indian and she's Canadian. Like, that never enters into it. And I think a lot of people think that, like, when you get married with two different cultures, like, there's going to be a big culture clash. And I'm sure it does happen. But for us, if there's a conflict, it's just because I'm a dick, or, she sees things a different way. But my Indianness never enters into it at all. And I have family members who've married people from India, and they grew up here, and they actually had more cultural clashes than I did in this, or that other people I know did in so-called interracial relationships. I wonder if your older brother, even when, he grew up here,
yeah,
right, and his wife is from India.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that when they first got married, that there were some cultural stuff that they had to get through.
Oh, yeah. But I think that is in every relationship. And I think the only reason why people of different ethnicities talk about it is because it's a variation of the same sort of things that every relationship has these.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But that's the one thing I think even from the outside looking in, if you're not used to sort of people with, mixed marriages, if you want to call it that, I think a lot of times people are like, oh, that's going to be hard. I don't know how they're going to do it. They're both different. They're different cultures, but
I think the bigger problem has to do with respect. And so there's a massive amount of ingrained respect that South Asians give their elders and their, family members and stuff like that come with very little due respect and more just because they're older or whatever.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to show that. And I think that it's not always earned, and it becomes a little bit weird. Like, if I just tell you to hypothetically start respecting everybody in the room because they're older than you.
Yeah, no, I can't do it.
Yeah.
But I do believe in sort of being deferential to older people. Yeah, but I don't believe that. But I don't believe that. Like, when I look across at a room of older Indian people, that there's a massive amounts of wisdom in there that that I'm just waiting for them to unload on me. Because most of the time, they're just talking shit to me anyway. And even be, like, when it comes to like marriage and stuff like that, and they all weigh in on like, oh, she's this, she's that, right? Like, if it was up to my mom to pick my wife, which I think at some point she tried.
She probably still is.
She like, what she would have chose for me is like not anywhere near what I would want to be married to, because my mom's like a very simple kind of a person, right? And she really responds to that. So she didn't really reach all that high for some of the things that she was looking at for me.
I don't think marriage as an institution is going to exist our entire lifetime.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Yeah. From what I understand, a lot of the young people, Zimmers, they're not getting married anymore. But then I have heard a number of stories of young people that have been getting married in their early 20s, in fact.
Oh, those people go to Taylor Swift concerts.
They're twisties? Is that what they're called?
I don't know.
Twisties.
Check your email. Why did you do that?
They're twisties.
Oh my Lord. You just ruined an entire industry and fan base. You can't we're gonna get canceled before we even start.
Canceled by who?
The twisties.
Who's gonna cancel us?
The twisties.
The twisties don't care about a couple of old Indian dudes talking in my basement. They don't care.
Old. So from what I remember, you told me this is going to be one of the last times we talk for a while.
It will be.
Yeah.
It will be. But actually, no, we're going to be back in here.
So we're not going to record remotely?
No.
So
there's no upside to recording remotely. I hate it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And we're not going to have any guests.
Not right now.
Not right now.
Not right now.
Right.
I may do a spin-off or two with a guest. I already have some people. Awkward. Awkward. I've got someone,
this is kind of weird.
Yeah.
So people can expect to see.
Watch this space for more Clayton Peters. And Mohit. No, we're going to do some more. We're probably going to have some guests and things like that. We're still figuring this out, as you can see by watching this episode, that we are still trying to find our way. And we're going to get there. We're going to keep on keeping on and see what happens.
Yeah, I think the real brilliance is the fact that we're actually trying to figure out what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still providing this
stellar content.
I wouldn't even say stellar. I think it's if there was a par, this is beyond it. Beyond par.
That's a bit of a word salad there. I have no idea what you meant by that.
Well, salads and words obviously go to well together. And that's why I think that we should probably call this episode a close. We haven't touched, rightfully so. I think that we have really bad extras, and I think that's the something tells me that he's probably going to start fading out right now, and like the music could probably take precedent. We wouldn't need to drag on the episode.
Well, I've got to ask, you don't hug.
I don't hug
In general.
Well, I got called for hugging. You know what? A host from a TV show the other day did say that he was going to hug me, and I ducked. It was weird. And then I turned around and hugged his co-host. So,
no, I don't like hugging in a business environment. In Los Angeles, there's like literally you'll have a meeting at a network and everyone will hug afterwards, and I hate it. I fucking hate it. You'll go to like a network meeting and they're like, "Let's hug it out." You know, it's like Ari Emanuel. Let's hug it out, bitch. No, but they literally will hug, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not hugging. I've never met you before. You work, some nameless corporation. I'm not hugging you. But
yeah, no, I don't like to hug.
Do you hug? Do you hug your children?
I do hug my children. It's what it is. It's the surprise hug. It's the people that jump into the personal space. That's where I've always.
I heard
struggled.
a good phrase for that recently for that type of hug. Non-consensual. A non-consensual. I don't. Yeah, non-consensual hugs. I'm a bit leery of. Yeah, they called it a non-consensual hug, and I thought that was a great phrase.
I have never been the one that stopped and said I need a hug.
Yeah.
It's always been the non-consensual person that's come to me and offered. Yesterday, a lady came up to me and she gave me a big hug, and she said, she squeezed me. Actually, I didn't hug back.
Was this after your presentation?
It was after my presentation. She was like, I haven't seen you in so many years. It's so great to see you, blah, blah, blah. I had no idea who she was. And then, of course, she started to explain that she's seen me. We've never met, et cetera, et cetera. But all I could think about is the fact that she probably heard at least 4 bones break when she squeezed me for a hug and I didn't hug her back.
There's some bones.
Speaking of bones, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Whoa, smash that like and subscribe button. I thought you hated that.
Oh, I hate the like, subscribe, but let's go find some hecklers and see if we can answer to them, and then people think we're valid. You want to do that?
Thanks, kids. Bye-bye and bye bonds. We'll see you next week.
Or
see you in 2 weeks.
Still no fries.
Or the old see you in 2 and 2. Yeah, that's it.
Can we get some fries for the table?